Və bir məsələyə də toxunmaq istərdim mən 3 gün bundan əvvəl.
I would also like to touch upon another issue. I said this at the opening of the Karabakh University in Konkendi 3 days ago, and I want to say it again. The importance of the issue suggests that the education of the young generation in the national spirit is not just words. This is the main guarantor of the future development of Azerbaijan, because countries are governed by their people. People's ideas, thoughts and courage, and conversely, different negative characteristics and the situation of countries depend on that to a large extent. Therefore, we should bring up a young generation that would be knowledgeable and educated. It should be attached and devoted to the motherland. It should not succumb to external influence. It should be proud. In fact, after our glorious wars, including the Second Karabakh War and the anti-terror operation, if we are not proud, then which people should be? Who won this brilliant victory in a matter of 44 days, giving martyrs? May Allah rest the souls of all our martyrs in peace. The anti-terror operation, which lasted for several hours under tremendous foreign pressure. I am not talking about other factors. Separatism was rooted out in Azerbaijan. Who else could do this? In other words, it is the people of Azerbaijan who has the biggest right to be proud of our country and people. Let me say again that this is why we, our entire society, should always be vigilant. I also said this in Konkendi. The main sources of education are family and school. This is the key. Of course, society, the general atmosphere prevailing in society, as they say, the climate, all this has a serious impact on the consciousness and future of the young generation. Therefore, this issue should always be in the spotlight. I'm sure that this will be the case. Our MPs, of course, should also always keep this issue in mind during meetings with their electors. The restoration of Karabakh and Eastern Zangezur is, of course, an important task for all of us. If I start to list the things we have done since the Second Karabakh War, I will have to speak in front of you for several hours. I would just like to bring a few figures to your and the public's attention. After the war, the amount to be spent by the end of this year is 19 billion manats. Most of the funds is channeled into infrastructure projects. At the same time, efforts are being made to return former IDPs to their homes, and more than 8,000 former IDPs have already resettled in Karabakh and Eastern Zangezur. Their number will increase every month and every year. Infrastructure projects have reached very large proportions. 3,000 kilometers of highways have been built. Among general projects, 45 tunnels are to be built, and the length of these tunnels is 70 kilometers. That is, it is not an easy task to build a tunnel and a road in those mountains. The construction of 450 bridges is also planned. Railways and 2 international airports have been commissioned. Energy potential has been strengthened, and 270 megawatts of hydropower plants have been put into operation in the 3 years, and this process is ongoing. Schools, hospitals, social facilities, villages are under construction. In other words, in a nutshell, large-scale work is underway for the revival of Karabakh and Eastern Zangezur. I don't know if similar restoration work has ever been done in any country in history or not. However, this also shows that it has always been the most important issue for us. New settlements were built for IDPs, both during the occupation and especially in the current conditions. Specific work is underway to protect our cultural and historical heritage. We are restoring our historical monuments. 7 mosques destroyed by the Armenians have been rebuilt. The construction of 8 mosques is still underway. Victory museums, occupation museums, victory parks, such large-scale work is underway in this geography. This, let me say again, shows the great capabilities of our people. And I am not talking only about financial resources here. At the same time, the state we have built has technical capabilities. There is also personnel training, because doing these things, laying power lines in the mountains more than 3,000 meters high in winter, requires truly great professionalism. So this is the potential of our country. We are ready for it. As soon as we freed our lands, we started this work immediately. I would even say that the 44-day Second Karabakh War was not even over yet. But we had already started building the road infrastructure in Agdara district. Of course, things will go faster in the coming years. In the near future, the next year's budget will be discussed in the Milli Majlis. I am sure that MPs will approve the government's plans for Karabakh and Eastern Zangezur, and we will ensure it. Of course, we must have the economic opportunities to do all these things. I have to say that we are doing all these things at our own expense. To date, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan have been the brotherly states that have helped us in the reconstruction work. A school and a children's creative center were built in Fuzuli. And currently the Kyrgyz Republic is also engaged in the construction of a school in Agdam district. That is it. Other than that, as they say, we have not received a single stone from anyone. We are doing all these things at our own expense. There are many donor organizations in the world, but they are, as they say, indifferent to this issue. There are thousands of foreign representatives who have seen this large area in this plate. Seeing this and not doing anything tangible shows again that this attitude towards us must be taken into account. This should demonstrate to us again that we should only rely on our own strength and trust our own potential. I think that this year's economic indicators have been positive. In the first 8 months, the economy grew by more than 4%. In the non-oil sector, it was 7%. We have been reducing our foreign debt year by year on my orders, and today it accounts for only 7.5% of the gross domestic product. We can say that we have repaid almost all the key loans, and if we view our debt in absolute numbers, it is about $5.3 billion. We can repay it in 1 day. I don't want to compare ourselves to any other country, but let me tell you one figure. In some developed countries, including some countries that want to lecture us, the foreign debt accounts for 100% of the gross domestic product or even higher. So, this is just a small reference. Of course, in order to implement our future plans, including the improvement of the well-being of our citizens, the economy must always develop. We have implemented 4 packages of social reforms since 2018. The value of this package of social reforms is 7 billion manats, and it covers 4 million people. During the last 5 years, the minimum wage in Azerbaijan has increased 2.7 times, and the minimum pension 2.5 times. I must also inform you that an instruction has already been given that the minimum wage and minimum pension will be increased again from next year. In other words, this social-oriented course once again shows our overall policies and intentions. Of course, the diversification of the economy, the development of the non-oil sector, and the expansion of local production are the primary conditions for pursuing our policy in this direction in the future. Today, new production sites are opening in all regions of our country, including Karabakh. The opening of the Istisu mineral water factory has a tremendous symbolic meaning, and Istisu is on our tables again. This has a great symbolic meaning and means the restoration of historical justice. After all, the Armenians destroyed both the factory and the sanatorium that used to operate there in Soviet times.